Okay, Marcy's in a rejuvenation tank. It's called a rejuvenation tank. Oh, it took me so freaking long to figure that out. Ugh. How is everyone doing today, guys? My name is Steve Goins, and we are back with some Amphibia. This is episode 42B of the series Turning Points. And yeah, I mean, again, another perfect title to sum up this episode because it really is the turning point, not just for not just for one character, but for pretty much this entire town. So, yeah, let's dive into it. So, we get to see basically Sasha's entire viewpoint of what went down at Utopia, and what I found interesting is obviously one of the main questions was how is the timelines gonna work with all this, because Anne got home and then she was there with their parents, and then they so it seems that they've been spending a few days in the new world thus far. So it's like, well, how far ahead are we going to go back? How far ahead are we with Anne, and how far back are we going to be with Sasha? It seems like Sasha is at least going through, like, what? I mean, okay, so let's just get into it. So, yeah, we pick up right where it left off at the end of True Colors, but we see it from Sasha and Grime's perspective. So Sasha sees Marcy being stabbed, and then we see the box closes and sends Anne and the planters to Earth. So Sasha and Grime are seemingly stranded, excuse me. And I found this a little odd, that being with Andreas, he turns to Olivia and Yunnan, and he clearly saw them fighting in the last episode in True Colors, but yet he's like, are you with me or are you against me? And Yunnan and Olivia, with these like nervous looking faces on them, they're just like, oh yeah, we're totally with you. Totally with you. Also, I saw them holding hands. I don't know. Let's not say anything until something actually happens with those two. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not against anything. I'm just saying, like, let's not jump to conclusions just yet. Let's just see what happens. But yeah, so Sasha and Grime are forced to flee, and I love this little bit where they're surrounded by robots, and Sasha's like, okay, what's the plan? And Grime literally leans in and whispers, I'm going to have to throw you out the window. And I'm like thinking, they're super high up, aren't they? And yeah, that's exactly the thing. He throws her out the window, he jumps out, and they're just falling, this like, ooh, nice little descent into possibly the ground of Utopia. And it's like, okay, great, how are they gonna get out of this? Freaking Joe Sparrow just flies in and saves them, and it's like, yeah! Honestly, I really have nothing else to say out of that. It's freaking Joe Sparrow. What more can be said? So, unfortunately for them, with Andreas being Andreas, I love this line that he says. He's just like, so many loose ends, so little time. I mean, it's like so many this, so little time, but it's still a good line. Plus, it's Keith David saying it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so Grime and Sasha realize they can't go anywhere Toad related, so they can't go to the main towers or even like just Toad Tower in general, so they have to figure out a place to hide out. And so they go to Wartwood because it's like, well, Andreas probably won't expect us to go back to Wartwood, and so it's a place where we've been, and it's a place that they trust Anne. So it's like, they go there, but unfortunately for Sasha, Grime doesn't fully tell him the town the truth. Like, he tells them that Andreas is a tyrannical ruler and that he's trying to take over, but he doesn't talk about what happened to Anne. He says that Anne and the planters are going on this super dangerous mission to stop Andreas, and Sasha and Grime have been left in charge of protecting the people of Wartwood. So technically that isn't 100%. Okay, yeah, it's actually straight up a lie. Because it's like Sasha and Grime are just there, the hideout, and Anne and the planters are technically on a dangerous mission, but it's to get back to, but they're stuck on Earth, so obviously they just gotta get back to Amphibia before they stop Andrea. So it's like, okay, little bit of pieces of the puzzle missing there, but unfortunately the town, or unfortunately for Sasha, the town buys it, and they're just like, well, whoever, well, anyone, a friend of Anne's is a friend of ours, and I'm like thinking, wow, you really took the respect, what was it? Slow to accept, even slower to respect motto out of the window in this situation. Yet it's still hung up in the town, so I guess it's this nice little background Easter egg, or not background Easter egg. It's like attention to detail with the town being like, okay, even though they don't seem to be like following that motto, it's still there because it's like, yeah, you need to accept and respect. And it's like, for Sasha, this is really the first, I mean, we've seen her guilt, we've seen her like go through those situations where she's just like, maybe I'm not the best friend, or maybe I'm actually a terrible person, like in True Colors. This time we really do get to see her just break down in a way, because obviously a lot happened in the last episode in True Colors. I want to keep on saying the last episode, which technically for Sasha isn't entirely false, so, but yeah, so she's there, and really just the guilt is getting to her, and so Grime is, of course, wondering why all of a sudden all of this guilt is getting to her, and she sums it up perfectly with this line. It's like, since when have you actually been against your morals and these morals? And she's like, since I saw the consequences. That's literally the perfect way to sum it all up for Sasha, because it's like, she literally saw one of her best friends get stabbed and the other be sent to another dimension. So it's like, now she is truly alone because of what she did, so she has to live with that. It's like, because for all she knows, one of her friends is gone for good, and the other is gone and is stuck in another world. So it's like, that is definitely not something you can easily bounce back from. But for Sasha, she's in Wartwood, and we get to see the townspeople, or in this case, just Mrs. Croker, Wally, and Maddie show up. They come in, and they each offer like a gift. Like, Mrs. Croker offers a pie. Wally comes in, talks about what Anne has done for him, and he even says he got a song, and but Sasha shuts him down before he says anything. And then Maddie comes in with just bread. Found that really funny, but oh yeah, I also love this little thing that they did. So Sasha is sleeping in the barn, and I love how she comes, the first time she goes in there, she sees Michelangelo and Bessie, but she's like, don't mind me, I'm just gonna sleep with the rest of the garbage. And she passes out on a haystack, but then the next morning the Grime opens the door and she's sleeping with Michelangelo in her arms. It was legit pretty cute, and I really got a laugh out of it too. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that for a sec. But yeah, so Sasha is just letting this guilt kind of sink in, but unfortunately things kind of get out of hand really quickly when a robot shows up, because Andreas ordered a robot to follow Grime, Sasha, and Joe Sparrow to Wartwood, and that's exactly what the robot did. And again, really love these shots where they cut the black and all you see is the slash. This time around, it's so cool because it's a red slash instead of like the usual white. And it was when Sasha was just, she slid in with her sword and just cut up the robot's legs. Again, awesome moments. I love the action sequences in this show. It's really fun. But unfortunately, the robot is able to call for reinforcements before they destroy it, thus meaning Wartwood is going to be attacked. So we got the classic, one person wants to stay behind and fight for the people, while the other is like, well, we gotta go, we got a war to win. And, so that's being Grime, because his sister told him that they have weapons, they have men, they have fortifications, so it's like, yeah, okay, it seems like they got the fight, yeah, but it's like, Sasha wants to stay behind, help the people of Wartwood, because one, this is on her, so she has to do it. But Grime just leaves her, and it's like, at first, it's like, you kind of feel like maybe they could just stick with it, but at the same time, this is one of those episodes where I felt like I would have been fine if it was a 22-minute segment, because there was a lot in this where I'm like, well, you could have let that sink in a little bit more. You could have had the guilt with Sasha, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's your final season, so you got a lot to talk about, so you got to get to the point with a few of these. But that's just me wanting to see a little more emphasis on a few of these things, because Grime's gonna come back. Like, he leaves and he's like, alright, fine, I'll just leave ya. And then but it's like, yeah, he's obviously gonna come back, because it's like, Sasha having to take on an entire army by herself. Yeah, I doubt that's gonna happen. And, yeah, so, Grime leaves, but before Sasha goes to confront the town, she goes into the planter home. She goes into the basement. She finds Anne's journal, and she sees Anne's entry about what happened during the Battle of the Bands. And so, of course, Sasha just reads it and sees how much Anne has just been so happy that Sasha is back and that she is able to trust her again. And so, obviously, Sasha is really torn about that. And I kind of thought we were going to cut into, like, a flashback of Sasha for a sec. Because the way they do it is, like, the lighting in the room is, it's your standard normal lighting. But then they do a close-up on her face, and you see, like, go dark. And so it's like, you think maybe they're going to fade into, like, a flashback and show, like, why, or at least give us a hint as to why Sasha is a bit like this. Why she tries so hard to gain control of everything. But no, they stay in the main timeline, and Sasha just says that she's done. She has to make things right. She's gonna change. She has to do the right thing for once in her life. And so that's exactly what she does. She goes to the town, tells them the truth, saying that, 1, there's a robot army coming, 2, Anne didn't send us here. We came here by ourselves. I have no idea where Anne is, but I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to protect you because Anne cares about you, so that means I have to care about you. And at first, it seems like it's going to be Sasha versus this army of toads. Army of robots. I love this design of this one robot that they sent it. So it's kind of like it's a giant robot, but it's like a mixture of a frog and a turtle, because like there is a moment in the fight where it gets down on all fours and like its back looks like a tortoise shell, and it just like opens up and just shoots out all these other robots for Sasha to fight. And at first, it seems like Sasha is gonna do pretty well against these robots. She's slicing them up, but then she gets caught, and it seems like she's done for, because there's literally a missile with an eye for it. It's like it's like a seeking missile. Which I think that's the point. It's like, it has an eye, so it literally can look for your target. So it's coming for Sasha, but then Grime is able to smack it away with the hammer. And then it seems like it's gonna be Sasha and Grime, but then the townsfolk get into the action, like Mrs. Croker with her pet spider Archie. They just melt a robot with apparently Archie has acid spit. I didn't realize that. I mean, if he did prior, I am so sorry I didn't notice that before, but holy crap, that's awesome. Lago gets in some action, like he's able to rip. He as Mrs. Croker points out, he's enjoying it too much. But Maddie gets some blows in. Ivy and her mother, Felicia, Mrs. Sundew, gets some moments in. Wally again, my man, he's got the accordion, he's just smacking bots left and right. I love that. He's just eventually, they're able to take out all the robots, but they still got the big mech to deal with. And once again, mech fires off seeing eye missiles. Sasha and Grime are, they just lure the missiles back to the robot, and the robot's destroyed. Afterwards, Sasha, of course, and the town, they make up. Croker being like, well, yeah, that you may have been a bad person, but you came clean, so you're going in the right direction now. It's like, it's like now it's like and you defended us when we needed that, and so it's like that's like obviously they've accepted Sasha. I mean, it seems like they also fully respected her. Who knows? But yeah, so obviously the whole thing ends with, of course, being like, all right, so what do we do now? And it's like Sasha is just like, now we continue the fight, and it's like, well, here we go. We got the big, like, if a war hasn't started yet, it started here. Like, it's this rebellion against Andreas, and yeah, this is the turning point, not just for Sasha, but for at least Wartwood at this point, because they have to fight back. They have to take down Andreas, because if Andreas is going to keep sending robots to attack people and try and rule over all in Amphibia with basically an iron fist, and, you know, obviously conquer all the other worlds, so it's like, yeah, you gotta do something about that. But, yeah, so, yeah, that's pretty much everything out of this episode. Great episode. Love this episode. I mean, like I said, I wish they could have added more emphasis on some of the points that they got across. You know, it's like, I would have liked it if there was that more of like Grime and Sasha's like perspective on some of this stuff. Like they do talk about, well, why are you for this? Well, why am I for this? So it's like Grime basic, you know, it's like there is the talk about stuff. It just felt like there could have been more time with it. But that's just me. I mean, this is me critiquing a freaking kid show. A kid show that has kids being impaled and nightmare fuel for children. But apparently that fits the Disney brand. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to throw that in somewhere. But, enough talking about owls. Let's just continue talking about frogs. Or amphibians, I should say. So, yeah, so that's pretty much everything for this episode. And yeah, like I said, really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see where this goes. I mean, you kind of feel like you know the general gist of where it could go, but at the same time, it's like, you have no idea. So, yeah. Alright, that's everything I got. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.